Shabbat Perek Bet, Mishnah Gimel. Third Mishnah in the second Perek of Masechet Shabbat, which is the chapter we call B'meh Madlikin. Says the Mishnah, Kol hayotzei min ha'etz ein madlikin bo ela pishtan. The only thing you can light, you can use as a wick that emanates from a tree is pishtan, is flax. Sounds good, except of course if you happen to know that flax isn't a tree. Flax grows from the ground. It's a plant in the ground. So the Bartenura says, why is it called pishtan di'ikre eitz? It's called eitz. Kedichtiv, as it says, vatit menem bepishtei eitz. And you have hid them, covered them, pishtei eitz, in the pishtan of a tree. For whatever reason, the Navi Yeshua calls it a tree. Okay, okay, nonetheless, madikim b'ptila, you can light from a wick that you make from it. Okay, he says, the Bartenura admits, upishtan nami means zerahu, it's a plant, it's not a tree. Nonetheless, the Mishnah is telling us, the Rubuye mishum di'ikre eitz. It's called a tree, as we have said. So therefore, you are allowed to use the wicks from pishtan, from flax. Okay, everything that comes from a tree is not metamei tumat ohalim. The Bartenura explains what this is talking about. If I make an ohel from matter that comes from a tree or comes from the ground, not comes from the ground, only from a tree. Okay, that's what the Bartenura says. Im asamen oel va'amei tachtav, and someone dies in the tent. Have kishar bait, and the tent is like a house. Ve'eno ta'un haza'ot tvila. The tent becomes like a house and does not have to be, even though the tent itself technically is movable, it has a din of the house, and it doesn't have to be purified. Haza'ah is sprinkling, it's tvila, and dipping in the mikvah. The oil atzmo eno mekabel tuma. Because normally a tent is not mekabel tuma, ala kelim tachtav. Rather, the kelim, the utensils in the ohel, they become tamei. Except for pishtan. In pishtan, if the oil is made of flax, then the oil atzmo tamei. And the reason he knows this, the Bartenura, the Gemara learns it out from a drasha in the Psukim that you can look up if you want. So that's what it means. The tuma itself, the oil, cannot become tamei unless it's made of pishtan. New case. Tilat habeged shekipla velo hivhava. Let's say, okay, so I'm going to use a paper towel, even though the paper towel is not a good example. It is not talking a paper towel. It's talking about a beged. So just imagine this paper towel is a beged. So I have a beged, i.e. a beged can mean a small piece of cloth. So I made a tila, I took a wick from the beged, shekipla, I folded it, i.e. a wick is normally woven, but I didn't have a wick. So I made a wick, I folded it, velo hivhava. The havhev means I didn't singe it. Okay, normally when I wanted to create a wick, I would make the wick, I would fold it up, and then I would singe it before. And then when you try to light it, it's already carbonized in some way, and it relights nicely. Here I folded it, but velo hivhava, I did not singe it. Rabbi Eliezer Omer Tme'ah. Rabbi Eliezer says it's mekabel tuma, i.e., it still has the din of a beged, and you're not allowed to use it to light. We'll explain in a minute what this is referring to according to the Gemara. Rabbi Akiva Omer, Rabbi Akiva says Tehora, it's not a beged, it's wick, umadikimba. Okay, so Rabbi Eliezer says you can't light with it, and Rabbi Akiva says you can light with it. So the Bartenura explains the following. It's actually a rather complicated halachic discussion. He says it's talking about b'yom tov shechal liyot erev Shabbat. We're not talking about a regular erev Shabbat. Erev Shabbat you can light with whatever you want. You want to light with a wick that you made from a cloth? Who cares? Okay, but we're talking about it's Yom Tov now, and it's a Friday Yom Tov that's erev Shabbat. So therefore, shayach be'isur muksa. There's that concept. Muksa is relevant on Yom Tov, even though it's Friday. Okay, there's another halacha. Ein mesikin b'shivrei kelim shenishbru bo bayim. You cannot light, you can't burn shivrei kelim, parts, broken pieces of utensils that were broken on Yom Tov. Why ta'avulu nolad? Meaning, if I have a beged and I rip off a piece and now I want to make it into a wick, I can't do that. That's called shever kli, and it's nolad because it used to be a shirt. Now it's a wick. Aval bekelim misikim, but you can burn whole kelim because you're allowed to. Because they are carryable, so you can burn it. And you can't break shivrei kelim. Okay. So everybody holds that when you light Friday night candles, you have to light the entire wick that's outside of the ner. The ner is the utensil, the vessel. So whatever's sticking out, you have to light the whole thing. Okay? Therefore, why did Rabbi Lezer say ein madlikin? He holds kipula lo bitla mitarat kli. When I fold it, I've got a folded beged. It's still a beged, but it's still a beged, but it's folded. It's still a beged. It's a kli. V'chi idlik ba, when I light it a little bit, since it's a beged, hayula havulei shever kli, I make it into a shever kli. Okay, so I'm lighting it, and I light it now. Part of it is a kli, part of it is a shever kli, and then when I light the rest of it, I'm lighting the shever kli, and therefore, what can you do? I violated the issur of burning a shever kli on Yom Tov. Rabbi Akiva says, madlikim ba, I can light it. Why? Kasavar yolds kipula bitla mitarat kli. When I fold it, it's now no longer a kli. It's not no longer a kli anymore. So therefore, when I light part of it, I'm lighting something that's no longer a kli anymore. Okay? It's not a shever a kli anymore. Therefore, I can light it. So again, let's go back to the Mishnah to explain according to the Bar Tanura and the Gemara. Belazar says Tameah. Why it's Tameah? Since it's still a beged is mekabel tuma. And since it's still a beged, ain't madlikimba, because when I light it a little bit, then it becomes a shever kli, because it was a kli. And now when I light the rest of it, I'm lighting a shever kli, which is asur on Yom Tov. Rabbi Akiva says, no, tahora. It's tahora, because when I fold it now, when I fold this little 3x3, it used to be a 3x3, now it's a fold, now it's not a kli anymore. Therefore, it's not mekabel tuma, and therefore madlikimba, because I'm not burning a shever kli on Yom Tov. I hope that was clear. A little bit complicated. What can you do? As always, I want to dedicate the learning to the memory of my father, Rav Simcha ben Yitzchak Kalman, and you can email me at this email address, arspoter@gmail.com, with comments and questions. Have a good day.